Soy Carla de Guatemala y estás escuchando a Lofi Poli Sci.
Lofi Poli Sci coming at you. Michael Pickering here talking about our famous question. What's going on in the world today? Shout out to Carla for taking us into the show. Thank you, Carla. And today we're doing the opposite end of a list we started last week. Last week we did Freedom House's top 10 freest countries in the world. Today we do the 10 least free countries in the world. And then we'll compare these lists to see what's what with what and freedom across the planet. And as a brief reminder, Freedom House ranks countries from 0 to 100 according to levels of civil liberties and civil rights in a country enjoyed by the people. And for more info, check out last week's list where we do a deeper dive into their methodology. But this week, I'll say it's important to realize that these scores are not based on what's written in any constitution, but rather on the civil liberties and civil rights enjoyed by the people. A big difference there, folks. 100 equals most free, 0 equals least free. So without delay, to the list, let's go. And coming in at and tied for number 11, Belarus and Tajikistan with an 8 out of 100 each. Next, a three-way tie for number 9 with a 7 out of 100 each. Somalia, Saudi Arabia, and the Central African Republic. Number 6, Equatorial Guinea with a 5 out of 100. And tied for number 5, with a 3 out of 100, is Eritrea and North Korea. Number 3, Turkmenistan, with a 2 out of 100. And coming in at number 1, though really tied for number 2, as the least free countries in the world, both with a score of 1 out of 100, South Sudan and Syria. And there you have it, by Freedom House, 10 least free countries in the world. And a quick recap of last week's list of freest countries: Luxembourg, Ireland, Uruguay, Netherlands, Denmark, Canada, New Zealand, Sweden, Finland, Norway. So let's talk about these lists. I think there are at least two, distinct biases that these lists, that when we look at them, we can just see it and compare them to the map of the world. And for the most free countries list, 7 of the 10 are in Europe. For the least free countries list, 5 of the 10 are in Africa. Now, I'm not going to tell you what that means, but rather I'll leave it to you to find the implications of the observations. But the geographical bias is apparent. Another thing we notice is that no country has a true 0 score, meaning at some basic level there are at least a tiny bit of rights and liberties that some people in some countries possess. But on the other end of that spectrum, there are 3 countries that Freedom House scores a 100 out of 100. This we have a problem with. This implies to us that there is such a thing as perfection in a government's ability to provide rights and liberties to their people. It implies that a perfect democracy does exist, and there are in fact 3 of them on the planet. And I couldn't fundamentally disagree with Freedom House and these scores any more than I do. No country is perfect. No democracy provides true equality for all. But I do understand the why and the how this happens in Freedom House's scoring. This is a byproduct of their methodology and of their questions and scoring to those questions. Because if the questions are answered on a range, which they are, that means any country in the highest range of a positive answer, even if not a perfect place, can still obtain a perfect score because they meet the minimum threshold of getting that 4th point in a response to a question. And let me tell you, I have emailed Freedom House before multiple times, and sorry, they are not accepting our calls right now. But does this flaw, or the geographical bias in the list, or so many other issues with Freedom House, does this make the data set useless? I think the answer is no. No, it doesn't. But you surely need to be aware of how Freedom House calculates these scores in order to know what they say versus what they don't say. I mean, what is freedom? What are civil liberties? What are civil rights that people are supposed to or should have? What are universal human rights? Question mark. Is there such a thing? Perhaps what one country says is a universal right or a liberty. Another country says, no, that is not a right or a liberty that people should have. And in fact, that's exactly the case all over the world. Countries, cultures, the people that we are, so many different identity politics groups around the planet do not agree on the things that people should or should not be able to do. People are different. People are diverse. And who are we? Freedom House obviously takes the frame that the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, written in 1948 and signed by 48 of the 58 UN member countries at the time. Freedom House uses that document as the foundation of their scoring. Freedom House believes democracy means a very particular thing and measures countries based on that belief as it relates to civil liberties and civil rights that people in countries enjoy. Now, if you realize all of that, then yes, Freedom House can still be useful. But that doesn't mean or make Freedom House right. It's all about perspective and time. For it wasn't that long ago that the freest of the free democracies of the world weren't all that free, but they most certainly still called themselves democracies. Interesting, don't you think? But right in. Freedom House ranks 210 countries and territories in the world. They classify them into 3 categories: free, partly free, and not free. Look at the percentages of the countries of the world in each category, and then look at the percentages of the human population in each category. And you tell us, what does it all mean to you? And that's a brief snapshot of what's going on in the world today. Check us out tomorrow for the South America regional edition of Lo-Fi Global. And it's not a cliche or a catchphrase. It's a lifestyle. Always remember that Lofi Poli Sci is more than just me. It's the we that we be. Pickering, signing off.